This weekly version of our stand-up for the HTBox is now on the air. Thanks for checking in. If you are following along with the project, we do have a couple of things to talk about this week really quickly. Working on some pull requests that we've got coming in. We've got some build failures. So this is like the honest version of the stand-up where things are not all roses. So let's have a quick check-in. Dave, you were tackling some stuff last weekend, I believe.
Yeah, I was working on notifying the user if their user profile isn't complete and got kind of a prototype of that done. We had talked offline about the implementation, so that's a bit of a work in progress still.
Right, so you started on that by going the approach of using local storage in the browser, right?
Yes, yeah.
And
so the idea being that we send some kind of bit down to the browser saying this profile isn't complete, and then at that point we would show some notification. But it ends up being a little too disconnected between what we're actually trying to do and just trying to get that information to the client so that we can show one little icon.
I think there were like 10 moving parts or something, right?
Yeah, it was just a bit too much. So simplifying that and going to use a user claim is, I think, what we talked about.
Right. So when they sign up, they'll basically get well, which way would you go? Would you say when you sign up you get an incomplete profile claim, or when you actually complete your profile you add the completed profile claim?
I was going to put the claim. Oh, that's a good question.
I think it's nice to say I've got a completed profile as a claim. On the other hand, if we use the incomplete profile claim, we could add that anytime to all users if we decide that we need to make an update to the profile.
That's true. Although, well,
we could strip it too. We could just strip the good claim.
We do kind of need to check anytime they log in anyway. So on login, it will check and it will add or remove that claim depending on if your profile is complete.
Well, we could add the claim to the user and persist it, and then it'll actually just load with the profile when the user logs in.
Right. That's true.
Like if we just use the identity bits, then it'll just save the claim out, and then that's free. So we don't have to do the check. We just have to inspect the claim. And that can be done in the view. That can be done with a view service. We could get into like cool MVC bits for that part. So maybe do I don't know if we do a service or a view component there or something, but we could look at doing something fun in the ASP.NET 5 space.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So you're working on that one, and then I'm the only other one on the call. So I will just talk about what I was working on. I'm actually going to share this if it'll let me. How do I do this? I'm not very good at computers. This is the problem. Oh boy. So we got some scaling things going on, I think, right? I'm not sure what it is you see. Okay, do you know what? I'm going to stop this.
I like that.
This is the problem with working on like a 4K screen, right? Is that Google Hangouts apparently has no idea what to do with all those pixels. So that's awesome. But what I'm working on, you just about broke. What you can do is go to github.com, whack HTBox, whack AllReady, and you can find that pretty easy if you go to htbox.org or just look for HTBox or AllReady on GitHub. And I'm looking at pull request 510. It's delete users as admin. So I got into that, and there was actually a fair bit of churning that had to happen in the view. And I started this work embarrassingly 3 months ago, and I came back to it a couple of times, and each time I came back to it I had to do like a massive like resolve merge conflicts, because we did some renaming things. We moved some namespaces around, we moved some commands around, we changed from tenants to org or organization, and that my changes that I was tracking in my views and in my classes were borked every time. And so last weekend I bit the bullet. I got all the way through it and pushed everything through. It looks like I've got a failing build right now. It actually looks like there's a number of builds that are failing in our pull requests, and they're tied to one of the integration tests. So we need to have a look at that.
Yeah, I was wondering if just because the integration tests take quite a bit longer too, that maybe we should run them separately. Have one build that's just our compile and unit test, and then another build.
Set up a different build altogether that runs the integration tests on their own. Okay.
Yeah.
It would basically just be a copy of what we've got, and then strip out. Like, I mean, we don't need to run the unit tests. I mean, although it wouldn't hurt, but just duplicate the existing build, and then in our current build, the one that we're using to do the check. And actually, interestingly enough, we could actually do 2 checks and then just make the unit tests the one that's required. So
yeah, we could talk to Bill Wagner about that. See what he thinks.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, very cool. So I would share my screen with everyone if it worked, but I'm just going to kind of talk through it instead so that we don't collapse in the black hole of the internet here. Issue count went up here over the last couple of weeks, and the reason for that primarily is because of the new tasks, the new issues that have been added to kind of build out what the next version of the prototype will be for the testing in Chicago. So if you've been following the project, you know that the American Red Cross will be using this to do a distribution of smoke detectors for homes that don't have it. And that'll be done using qualified electricians. There'll be people canvassing door to door. There'll be volunteers coordinating on the phones, I understand, and figuring out where people go next. All of these things require a lot of organization and oversight and coordination, and because of that, AllReady kind of fits in very well into that. This is exactly what AllReady is designed to solve. So they're going to be using that in Chicago at the American Red Cross, as I said. So we've got another milestone identified, and what you can do is if you go and look at the list on GitHub, there's a private preview release 2, and that is the milestone that we're trying to target. So if you filter by that milestone, you can look and see there's a bunch of things that you can jump in. We have some items tagged as jump in. Those are ones that we're kind of leaving open for the community. If you're looking to get started with open source development, this is a great way to do it. And Dave, if you go to davepaquette.com, there's a great post that you've got right there. Maybe I'll tweet that out here. I'm at Canadian James on Twitter. Dave, you're at Dave_Paquette, right?
That's correct. Yep.
So just pop onto one of our accounts on Twitter. You'll see the how to get started post. I'll tweet that out as soon as we're done this call. But then just go and fork the code, fork this repo, build out a branch, and then submit a pull request on one of these jump-ins. Some of them are very small, so it's pretty easy to get started. Now, one of the things that we were talking about this week, and we had some pretty great conversation with around even involving some folks from the ASP.NET team, is around this idea of magic links. So this is a conversation that we've started. There's an issue that we've opened up. Your thoughts on it, Dave? Like when you do something like go to sign in on Slack on your phone, it's like, hey, don't want to punch in your username and password, tap here for a magic link, and then you get an email.
Right. And I guess what we're talking about is a little bit different. It's not necessarily for logging in. It was to complete some action, right? Like accepting or not accepting a task.
Right. So
acknowledging a change of time.
Exactly. Confirming that you're going to be able to make this time. I think the one that we really want to solve for and make super easy is when you sign up for an activity, you don't actually enroll yourself in a task. The administrator of the activity will say, okay, now I'm going to assign this task to this volunteer. When they do that, you need to be able to opt in and say, you're going to get this notification either via SMS or via email, and you're going to say, hey, yeah, I do want to do this. I want to accept this. And what we want to do is eliminate the barrier for them to be able to say yes. Like if you get a text message, we want you just to be able to tap that link in the text message and say, great, you have accepted this this invitation.
Right. And that's the only thing that you would be able to do with that link, right? Like you wouldn't be able to then automatically go to other parts of the site and
I
do
think
other
that
things
is a
unless you
better.
signed in.
Yeah, exactly. I think given the tone of our conversation, an action specific link that doesn't actually log you in is
Yeah.
probably the best thing that we can do from a security perspective while still giving a reasonable user experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to be something that we chart out here in the weeks ahead. Okay. Any other interesting things going on the project this week? We have some great contributions stepping up. Steve Gordon and Mike Moore have been they've come in here swinging and contributing every week. That's super awesome to see. And then next weekend, where are you going to be next Saturday at this time, Dave?
I will be here next to
But
the beach.
virtually, where will you be?
Virtually, I will be at the Calgary. We're not calling it a hackathon, codathon.
Codathon. It will
That's
be a
right.
codathon.
Yep.
We have actually, it is a worldwide event. We have, or international, anyways. I don't know if it'll be worldwide, but it'll be international. We have actually, Rocky is down in Minneapolis with Magenic, and he's running a codathon down there, which is actually going to span 3 days. So Friday night, they're doing some prep stuff, get everybody's computer up to speed, and even start tackling smaller issues on the code base. Saturday's an all-day thing. Sunday, whoever's got any steam left in the tank is going to be able to keep going. And then up in Calgary, I'm actually flying out 6 in the morning. I'm flying to Calgary and joining Simon Timms, the leader of the .NET user group out there. And we're going to be doing a hackathon all day. So that'll be 10 hours of intense, not hackathon, it's a codathon. It's good stuff. It's not hacky. So this is a great opportunity, and we're gonna leave a. Sorry, I didn't finish that thought. It's a great opportunity for anybody who wants to see ASP.NET Core in action. What we'd really like you to do, though, is if you're going to come out to one of the codathons, either in Minneapolis or in Calgary, is fork the repo, get it building on your machine. That is going to help you out immensely. To get started and be productive as soon as you get in there. Dave, you and I were down in Seattle at the codathon there. I mean, it was just better for anybody who had stuff set up, right? Like they could just start
absolutely.
coding.
Yeah, otherwise there's a couple hours at least of just trying to get things going, and then at that point you've missed out on a big part of the day.
Yeah, and even just that technical fiddling while you're trying to get your stuff online, you're kind of missing the peripheral conversations. You might be missing some of the direction and whatnot. One thing I will note, though, is that we will bring the tools. We will have them there. We'll have it on USB key, and we will do our best to get you online and working on this code base. But if you can at least get the stuff downloaded, installed, and get a GitHub repo account or get a GitHub account set up and fork the repo, pull that down on your machine. Again, Dave's got that great blog post. There's also info on htbox.github.io. If you go there, there's some documentation on getting started. But certainly, I've looked at what's there, and it is great, and it is going to get you moving. But Dave, I really got to give you kudos for that post you did. It just really walks everyone through each of the steps and everything. That was really well put together. So. Okay, so for those of you, and next weekend, we will actually have Skype set up or a Hangout set up or something. It's going to be open all day. So if you want to join in, and I think we're going to make it like open. So anybody who wants to join in from anywhere in the world who wants to join in will be able to do so. And we will have Rocky and his crew and Simon and his crew online. And Dave, I think you'll be in for at least part of the day. If not on the videos, then at least helping manage pull requests and things like that, and doing code reviews and all those cool bits.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks for checking in here, Dave, and we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.